Good morning, evening, or night, wherever you are. Welcome to WHAM today. Take a deep breath, clear your mind, and let's drift through the whispers of today's world, one quiet thought at a time. As we wrap up Tuesday, 1st July 2025, let's see what stories are unfolding around us. China is strategically maneuvering to reinforce its economic standing and global supply chain dominance by courting foreign capital and engaging in key trade negotiations. As part of this effort, Beijing has proposed a significant tax rebate to French cognac manufacturers if they assist with its ongoing anti-dumping probe into European Union brandy exports to China. Moody's ratings forecasts a rise in outbound investment from Chinese firms due to sluggish domestic demand, a trend encouraged by Beijing via financial assistance and tax incentives. Internally, China is prioritizing the reduction of excessive competition and the establishment of a unified market. Alibaba is allocating $7 billion subsidies to protect its market share. Additionally, China is allegedly developing an indigenous pharmaceutical treatment for obesity. China's benchmark index saw a rise of 0.39%. The Singapore Exchange, SGX, also offers exchange-traded funds, ETFs, that enable investment in China. Huawei is expanding its technological influence by open-sourcing more of its AI models, despite facing U.S. sanctions. Calls have also emerged for China to adopt stablecoins, particularly as the U.S. strengthens its position in the cryptocurrency domain. Electric car startup XPeng is sustaining its sales momentum amidst a competitive price environment, challenging Tesla and other domestic competitors. India's financial markets are buzzing with activity, highlighted by HDB Financial Services' successful market debut at Yogwide 135 after an oversubscribed IPO. The IPO market anticipates approximately $2.40 billion in offerings for July, signaling growing investor confidence. Stock benchmarks have remained relatively stable as financial sector gains countered concerns over trade deal. BAI Finserv is focused on expanding its customer reach to 250 million. Electricity futures trading is slated to commence on the National Stock Exchange, NSE, on July 14th. Shifting to regulatory matters, India's antitrust body has launched an investigation into Asian paints after complaints from Grasim Industries. A subsidy previously supporting the clean energy sector has ended. Biocon intends to become a significant competitor in the Canadian market, with biosimilar versions of Wegovy starting next year. Investment recommendations are also circulating, with Sagadoshi suggesting Titagar Rail, ICICI, Prudential, and CESC. Vaishali Parekh and other experts recommend Filatex India, IOBay, Besalo Digital, and Paramount Communications, particularly highlighting stocks priced under your 100. Australia's retail sector underperforming, increasing the probability of a reduction in interest rates. Simultaneously, Australian stocks have recovered after the post-COVID downturn. In a separate incident, Qantas, the national airline, suffered a cyber attack that affected approximately 6 million customer accounts. In Hong Kong, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, HKMA, intervened in the foreign exchange market. The HKMA sold us 35 billion for the second time in a week, aiming to maintain the dollar peg amid carry trade pressures. Turning to Mexico, 3 financial institutions are facing negative economic consequences. These effects are a result of sanctions previously imposed by the U.S. government under the Trump administration. During a visit to Doha, the United States and Qatar finalized agreements totaling $1.20 trillion. The United States is considering imposing substantial tariffs of 500% on the largest buyers of Russian oil. This action would significantly impact India, a major importer of Russian energy resources. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has issued a warning regarding Switzerland's economic vulnerabilities. The Swiss economy is at risk due to potential tariffs that may be imposed by the United States. AstraZeneca is reportedly contemplating a shift in its stock market listing. The pharmaceutical giant is considering moving its listing to the United States. A robotics startup has successfully raised $105 in seed funding. The funding comes from venture capital firms located in both the United States and China. Russia's economic landscape sees the central bank likely reducing its key interest rate to 19% this July. VTB Bank is grappling with a rise in overdue retail loans, signaling potential financial strain. To counter this, Russia has introduced specialized accounts guaranteeing withdrawals, aiming to entice foreign investors. Shifting gears, President Vladimir Putin has revealed intentions to reduce military expenditures beginning next year. Despite this, the Kremlin refuted allegations from the U.S. that Russia is impeding peace negotiations with Ukraine. Corruption continues to be addressed, with a former deputy defense minister receiving a 13-year sentence on corruption charges. Economic pressures are also affecting the metallurgy sector, forcing a major ferroalloy producer to shorten its work week. On the international stage, Kim Jong-un paid tribute to North Korean soldiers who fought for Russia, underscoring their alliance. The EU has prolonged its sanctions against Russia for another 6 months. A Russian-backed official claimed, Russia now has full control over Ukraine's Luhansk region. Saudi Arabia is witnessing robust economic expansion across key sectors. The nation's debt market recently facilitated its inaugural over-the-counter OTC transactions, attracting an impressive $533 million. Key data indicates a rise in crude exports for June. This growth is mirrored in the equity markets, fueled by investments related to Vision 2030. Saudi banks are also experiencing increased lending activity, with a notable 5.4% surge in the first quarter of 2025, primarily driven by corporate loan demand. The Saudi Wealth Fund is also benefiting from increased investment returns. Several companies are expanding their operations within the kingdom, and Ninja achieved unicorn status following a funding round spearheaded by Riyadh Capital. Jadwa Investment led a $50 million investment in Petroapp, a Saudi fuel tech company. RCI Worldwide and Inet are deepening their collaboration to stimulate fintech advancements. Furthermore, Saudi Arabia introduced a new non-profit organization dedicated to ESG principles within the industrial and mining sectors. South Korea's economy faces persistent inflation, as indicated by recent figures exceeding expectations, prompting the nation to lift a 14-year ban on kimchi bonds to increase foreign exchange liquidity. XRP is gaining traction on the country's largest cryptocurrency exchange amid these financial adjustments. Tourism Asia recently held a trade and media event in Seoul to cultivate stronger ties within the South Korean market. A survey reveals that approximately 70% of foreign students hope to stay in South Korea after graduation. In investment news, Blackstone is reportedly considering acquiring Juno Hair, a major beauty salon chain, for $590. Japan faces a complex economic landscape as manufacturers cautiously hope for growth, shadowed by worries of potential tariffs from the United States. Adding to the uncertainty, former Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba spoke publicly in Tokyo, coinciding with the Nikkei stock index 501.06-point drop, driven by profit-taking and the looming threat of increased tariffs in Japan-U.S. trade relations. This pressure stems from comments made by former as President Donald Trump, who hinted at possibly ending the tariff pause and even raising tariffs on Japanese imports. Simultaneously, TikTok Shop has debuted in Japan, enabling direct purchases through the popular video app. Across Asia, stock markets present a mixed picture, colored by Wall Street's movements, trade dynamics, and domestic economic strategies. Initially mirroring the U.S. market's climb to record peaks after a sharp downturn, the Asian markets saw a subsequent deceleration. This slowdown was partly triggered by a slump in technology shares, most notably Tesla, and apprehension regarding the future direction of U.S. Federal Reserve policies. Lingering trade frictions, originating from tariffs previously enacted by Donald Trump, continue to cast a shadow on overall market confidence. Amidst these challenges, optimism surrounding potential trade agreements has sporadically spurred growth within the Asian financial landscape. Meanwhile, individual stocks such as HDB Financial, Asian Paints, Lucan, Sanofi Steel, Hyundai, Rights, and Paris Defense have been actively watched by investors. The ongoing global conflicts, particularly in Ukraine, are significantly impacting the aviation industry, forcing airlines to reroute flights to avoid conflict zones and to prepare for potential disruptions to flight systems. Russia has asserted complete control over a Ukrainian region, marking the first such claim since the conflict began. Turning to the United Kingdom, the Bank of England is widely anticipated to reduce interest rates by 25 basis points in August, bringing the base rate down to 4%. The UK housing market experienced a decline in prices during June. In contrast, the London stock market has seen a strong performance, achieving its best first half of the year since 2021. In financial news, Aviva's £3.70 billion acquisition of Direct Line has received approval from the UK's regulatory watchdog. Germany's legal system saw the suspension of Martin Winterkorn's trial, the former Volkswagen CEO accused of fraud and market manipulation related to the diesel emissions scandal. Simultaneously, the defense sector in Germany is thriving, reflected in considerable share price increases for companies such as Rheinmetall. On the business front, a German firm completed its purchase of Stanford-based SpringWorks Therapeutics, while Brainlab has delayed its initial public offering. Shifting to finance, Sparkassen is gearing up to introduce cryptocurrency trading options to its extensive customer base of 50 million. South Africa is grappling with a critical housing deficit, particularly affecting low-income families. The nation's economic outlook has brightened recently as inflation appears to be trending downwards, aligning with established targets. This positive development coincides with a slight uptick in manufacturing confidence during June. Supporting South Africa's economic growth, the African Development Bank has approved a substantial loan of $475 million. Regarding technological advancements, Zeta Display and Enra Technologies have formed a strategic alliance to drive forward innovation in digital signage solutions across the country. Thailand is currently grappling with discussions surrounding the development of sovereign AI by emerging nations, a topic highlighted at CNBC's East Tech West 2025. Simultaneously, the nation is experiencing significant political instability, with the Constitutional Court suspending Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra from her duties pending a review of a case that could lead to her dismissal. This political uncertainty is further exacerbating Thailand's economic challenges, impacting the nation's stock market, which is currently underperforming globally. United States Federal Reserve Chair Jerome H. Powell emphasized a data-driven approach to future interest rate decisions during a panel discussion at the European Central Bank's annual conference in Sintra, Portugal. Powell's remarks suggested a cautious stance, carefully monitoring economic indicators before committing to further rate hikes. European markets concluded trading with slight declines. Investors closely watched the central bank meeting in Sintra. Trade developments and the US tax bill were also key factors. Market sentiment seems cautious. A strong euro could hinder economic recovery. Greece is poised to integrate further into the European financial system as the Ministry of National Economy views Euronext's proposed takeover of the Athens Stock Exchange favorably. This development marks a step forward for the nation. In Azerbaijan, tensions are rising with Russia. Authorities detained 7 individuals connected to a Russian media outlet. Police also raided Russia's Sputnik media offices in Baku. Bulgaria, Greece, and South Korea are joining forces to boost tourism. They are launching a collaborative advertising campaign in Rome and promoting it at a travel exhibition in Seoul. China's major ports are still facilitating the flow of Iranian oil, despite existing sanctions. Israel is urging China to exert economic pressure on Iran to curb its nuclear ambitions. Ghana is seeking India's support to establish a vaccine hub. This will be a key topic during Prime Minister Modi's upcoming visit. Greece is actively promoting its premium agricultural products like saffron and olives in the Canadian market. Hong Kong-based Linglong plans an IPO to partially finance a €1 billion tire project in Brazil. India will be the focus of Ghana's request for support in establishing a vaccine hub during Prime Minister Modi's visit. Iran continues to export oil through Chinese ports, despite sanctions. The country is also reportedly using Cold War tactics to restrict access for nuclear monitors. Israel is urging China to pressure Iran to curb its nuclear ambitions. Israel has reportedly agreed to a 60-day ceasefire deal in Gaza, according to Trump. Trump is urging Hamas to accept the agreement. Israel is also pushing China to apply economic pressure on Iran. Italy's Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, is actively brokering debt forgiveness deals with developing nations facing unsustainable debt burdens. Malaysia and the Philippines are seeing the expansion of Alibaba's AI cloud services within their respective market. Pakistan's inflation rate for June reached 3.2% year-on-year, aligning with the ministry's projections. Poland is exploring the potential of green bonds after a successful €1.20 billion sale to Dwight. Interest rates will remain steady due to budget risks impacting prices. Qatar's economy is displaying robust growth with an annual rate of 3.7%. Singapore's stock market has reached a record high. This occurs amid mixed trading across Asia as investors analyze the Federal Reserve's commentary on Trump's tariff initiatives. Spain, working with the World Bank, is launching a debt swap hub. This initiative aims to promote the broader use of debt swaps, freeing up funds for development. Switzerland's economic growth forecast has been cut by the IMF. The IMF also warns of downside risks if the US implements full tariffs. Foreign workers from Europe are considered essential for Switzerland. Taiwan's semiconductor is gaining attention. Canadian analysts project a pathway to $90 billion in AI revenue for the company. The United States sees Boeing poised to acquire Spirit's Northern Ireland plant, according to a company spokesperson. The IMF has also warned that Switzerland faces downside risks if the US implements full tariffs. And that's a wrap for today's news, because even headlines need a nap. Stay curious, stay kind, and let the noise fade as you find your quiet. Take care, stay awesome, and I'll see you next time on WHAM Today.